Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another stream. Wait, hold up. Sorry, the introduction is probably gonna sound terrible. Hold on one second. The camera just cut out for some reason. Okay, are we back? Okay. Anyways, so welcome back to another stream on the channel. As you can see by the title, the question that I've been asking for years, and anyone who's ever had any attachment to the Fnaf series since it started in 2014, is did we finally solve the Fnaf timeline, the Fnaf lore? Do we finally, after over a decade of trying to solve the mystery and the time of events, do we finally have actual concrete answers? That's what we're about to solve today. At least that's what we're going to hope to solve today. So hope you guys enjoyed. And that's enough the introduction. Let's just see if we actually did solve after all these years. Because if so, I'm excited about that. All right. So here we go.
Creating a Five Nights at Freddy's timeline is a very
Fnaf questions. Everyone in the community of furriers, it just 99% including you. I'm not a furry. Dakota, god damn it. Also, you can't say that about the Fnaf universe, I guess you can say, because there's more than just, furry animatronics. There's also robotic metal endoskeleton suits as well. So, there's way more than that. God damn it, mouse.
Creating a Five Nights at Freddy's timeline is a very interesting experience because no matter how many videos you watch, everyone's timeline is going to look different. Even though everyone is dealing with the same games, no one is able to agree on a solid timeline of events. The way Scott
Agreed. Wholeheartedly. That's what makes this FNAF timeline and FNAF So universe so hard to understand. No, Dakota, you're not going to understand the pain and suffering that someone like me goes through trying to solve this thing. But yeah, 100%. No one knows what happens. No one knows what order things happen. Because, huge example, we don't know what the first event in the timeline of the series happens. We have no idea what happens. Is, like, where do you think William Afton kills Charlotte, Henry's daughter, outside the pizzeria? Is that in the beginning timeline? Is that later on? Because it seems like it should be later on, because you have to give William Afton, the villain, you have to give them a reason to want to kill, because that's what Steel Wool, the creators of the FNAF games, say all the time, that, the reason why, Jason, Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, all these iconic core villains, the reason is they're not just, evil for the sake of it. There's a reason why they are an antagonist. Like, there's other wrongdoing that happened in their life that got them to be a villain. So you have to give William Afton a reason to kill. So it's like, okay, so Charlotte, Henry's daughter, isn't the first event in the series. Okay, so is it Elizabeth Afton, where she got scooped by Baby when she was lured by ice cream? Is that the first event in the series? What about the FNAF 4 Crying Child, where he sees, the stomach hatch mouth of Fredbear in FNAF 4? Where does that fit in the timeline? Where does the 4 missing children get lured to the back of a pizzeria and killed by William Afton and go up on his suit? Where does that fit in the time of the whole series? So yeah, there's a lot of events in this series where it's like, what happens first? And no one can agree with it, to me, which is frustrating. That there's 4 to 5 events minimum that we know about that could be the first event in this series, and there's some evidence that would make you think that's the first event in the series, but there's a couple nooks and crannies, there's a couple asterisks where you really have to squint, like, okay, I see where you're coming from, I can see why you think that's the first event in the series, but, that doesn't explain why, Elizabeth Afton, why she, dies a lot earlier, why FNAF 4 Crying Child is a lot later, right? His death was a lot later. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Scott was able to do this was by picking and choosing which key details to share versus not share in the games. On top of that, Scott created a book trilogy that takes place in a different timeline, but has a lot of the same characters and plot points as the games. Then, Scott started putting characters and plot points from the books into the games, such as the names William Afton and Henry. Scott started using the book trilogy to answer questions in the games, which then motivated the community to try and do the same thing.
Yep. Yep. That's the hard part. That's the harsh reality, harsh truth of the books. Is when the books first came out, everyone hated the books because they're not canon. They shied away from the game universe. The main question about the books, and we talked about this on a past stream where it was like, oh, are the books canon? Scott said no, they're not designed to fit together like two puzzle pieces. They're supposed to like take place in like an alternate reality. It's a different interpretation of the FNAF universe. It's not supposed to be a complete one-to-one. Well, now, ever since, William Afton got revealed in, Sister Location, or Henry got revealed in FNAF 6, those characters are from the books. So now the community went from, completely doing the whole Drake meme, where, completely shot away from the books and everything, to now, you can't have a theory or you can't have any solid understanding of the games anymore unless you reference the books.
This one decision opened the door to a world of new possible theories about this franchise. And in my opinion, there's no better example of this than this kid. This kid, as far as we know, has zero relevance to the story of FNAF.
Does he? I mean, fair point. This kid has no answer. This kid just exists in the FNAF 4 minigame and everything. But, I don't know, so far I'm a little confused on this because there's a ton of kids, that we see in these, 8-bit, sprite minigames and, FNAF Between Nights and everything, where we see these kids and they don't have any relevance. We don't know why they exist or what importance they do, right? Like, for instance, in FNAF 4, the 4 bullies with the older brother who shoved the FNAF 4 Crying Child right here, this kid in the black and white shirt, shoved him out of Fredbear, the person wearing the body mask, we just now got an answer to, who they may be and everything and how their story plays a part. But there's also a Chica and Freddy kid in that group of bullies and everything that we still don't know what answers they have. We don't know who they are, where they exist and everything. So those two kids, we still don't know, who they're all about. This kid, who's holding the, plush trap with the red heart and everything. Yeah, he hasn't had any importance, any relevance. He just says that, oh, my dad gave me this spring Bonnie plush trap and he bites you or something like that. But there's also the pigtail girl with the skirt that we thought at one point was Elizabeth Afton, baby, the FNAF 4 Crying Child sister, because they're yellowish text and when we first see them, and then and the whole scene about I will put you back together and everything is the same shade of yellow. And obviously, they had pigtails. Baby was the first animatronic we saw pigtails, so that was their connection. But obviously, they are now two completely different people. The kid holding the balloon in FNAF 4 in the same minigame, we assume that it's an homage and a reference to Balloon Boy, but, that's just an assumption. The older kid who's, sitting down on the sidewalk laughing and making fun of the kid for being scared at the Freddy's, pizzeria and everything. We don't have an answer for him yet. I'm trying to think. Non-FNAF 4. Are there any other 8-bit minigames where kids exist and we don't have an example, a reason why they exist? Let's see. FNAF 1 didn't have any 8-bit minigames. FNAF 2 had the cupcake minigame where we see Charlotte, Henry's daughter, die outside the pizzeria for the first time. And then we also get the, SAVETHEM William Afton saying, save them, but William Afton comes in saying, you can't. I think that's it. FNAF 3 is the minigames trying to get the good ending, but it's more of the spirits of the animatronics, not the kids themselves. We just talked about the kids that we see in FNAF 4 that have no importance. So it's kind of weird for you to call attention to this kid when there's a handful of other kids in FNAF 4 that we still don't know have an importance. But, maybe I'm, pausing video too early. Maybe you talk about those other kids. But I just think it's weird for you to call attention to this one kid when there's plenty of other kids in the same minigame that they have no importance. So why call attention to this one? That just feels weird. Sister location. No, the only 8-bit minigame kid we see is Elizabeth Afton, which we talked about earlier with the whole baby thing, with ice cream, them getting scooped. That's it there. FNAF 6 is Midnight Motorist, which we still have no idea who Orange Guy is. I have my theories on it. The person who's in the gray shirt and everything, sitting down, watching TV and everything. We don't know an importance for them. We assume it may be Michael Afton because the gray text, or maybe Mrs. Afton because, she's slumped over like a grandma and everything. But we have no idea. The green person who's sitting outside Junior saying, you can't be allowed in, you can't be here and everything. Don't make this any more difficult than it has to be. We still have no importance about them. Let's see. Is there anyone else? Can't you see that FNAF and all these minigames has taken up all my memory for all these years, and I just remember random facts that I'm just now vomiting out back to you? Do you see why, to this day, FNAF takes up so much memory in my brain, and we still cannot figure this out? If I need to create a 4-word summary for FNAF, would the following be accurate? Pedophiles, furries, child abuse. Pedophiles, yes. Furries, sure. Child abuse, yeah. 100%. Also, is that me in the middle of the screen? Probably. Are you the person? Dakota, let me know about this. When you were a kid, did you go to a Chuck E. Cheese pizzeria style attraction for your birthday? You got shoved into the mouth of an animatronic who then bit you. You were then dead at a young age, and then you were reborn, and you are now realizing you are a robot. Are you a robot? Let me know. Delete FNAF memory, learn how to take a jump shot. You shouldn't have to time jump shots on FNAF. But yeah, is there any other kids I remember? Let's see, talked about Midnight Motorist. Let's see, the security puppet minigame. The only kids you see are the ones that lock Charlotte Emily outside the pizzeria and make fun of her. And then you see Charlotte outside, so we covered that. I think that's it. I think that's all the minigames you see of kids in FNAF 6. Help Wanted, nobody. Help Wanted 2, nobody. Let's see. FNAF World is just Old Man Consequences, and then you see some shadowy figure holding their arms out with 2 kids or 2 people on the side of them. We assume them to be kids since they are a lot shorter than the tall figure in the center, but that still can't be explained. I think that's it. I think that's all the 8-bit figures, kids, that we see in FNAF that still have no importance. So kind of weird for you to talk about this kid right here holding the plush strap suit. But anyways, enough pause. Let's just get back in the video. I just wanted to call attention to that.
They're just a random NPC that the crying child walks by on his way home. Or are they? As you can see, the child is holding a plush trap doll. The same plush trap that we see in the FNAF 4 plush trap minigame. This minigame
I did start crying at a Chuck E. Cheese birthday because Chuck E. Cheese tried to hug me and parents made him leave because all my friends were scared too. Nice.
Always felt super random to me, and I never really thought much of it until Sister Location came out.
Sister Location, huh? Okay. I have my theories, I have my thoughts about what Plush Trap plays in the whole series, but you know what? I'll hear you out.
I've believed for a while now that after the reception from Fnaf 4, Scott decided to change directions with the story.
Yes. Yes.
Was no real way to figure out what was going on. I knew that I had to go in and straighten that out. It's like, people aren't really happy with this. I need to make another game. I need to kind of ground this again.
This was when he decided to write the Silver Eyes trilogy and release Sister Location. I believe that the Silver Eyes trilogy and Sister Location were conceptualized at the same time, with them both being released less than a year apart from each other. And there's certain details from the books that I believe show up in Sister Location. In Sister Location, you get to see a map of the entirety of Afton's underground bunker. On this map is every room
I mean, that just makes sense from a, timeline perspective of just think about how the games have been released. Like, FNAF 1, is all about, animatronic horror outside like a haunted pizzeria and everything. FNAF 2, it's kind of the same deal. FNAF 3, it's a haunted attraction, right? Like an amusement park ride. And then FNAF 4, it takes that haunted scary aspect of FNAF animatronics and then brings them to your house, right? But everything is like horror based. Then once Sister Location got released, that's when we got like ideas of Remnant and Scooper and Faz, Soul Energy. So it became way more scientific sci-fi. So yeah, Sister Location, it went way more in like the science fiction kind of deal. So yeah, there was definitely a tone shift. But interesting, but once again, interesting for you to call out Plush Trap, because to me, I've always saw Plush Trap as the Plush Trap from the, I can't remember what book it's from Fazbear Fights, but it's the Plush Trap in the books, the Fazbear Fights books. I don't remember which one because there was like 30 of them. But there's a book where it's a Plush Trap figure, and they're all sold out because they're very popular and everything because, Freddy Fazbear is a popular entertainment industry after all. But there was one more left on the shelf, and it had been like returned because like been recalled or something like that. And it had like human eyes, human teeth. It looked way more real and off-putting than the others. But kids bought it because, it was still so popular, it was still sold out. Because like, hey, this is the last one available. It's either we get this off-putting weird one with, human eyes and human teeth, or we get nothing. So kids bought it, and the Plush Trap figure, came to life and everything. It was able to bite through metal, it was able to bite through, I want to say, a garage door. And it would just bite through everything. And the story ended by the kids leading the biting Plush Trap with the human teeth and human eyes and everything to a railroad, shine the flashlight to make the Plush Trap stop, and get run over by the train. That's how the story ends. But the whole thing was that the Plush Trap moves when it's dark. It stops when you shine a light out, which is, to me, a direct callback to the minigame from FNAF 4 where you're in a dark room and Plush Trap moves to get you and everything, and it only stops when you shine the flashlight on him. So that's what I've always thought. Is just a nice callback, and it's told in an alternate way in the books. But I never saw it like anything more than that. But interesting.
We visit in Sister Location, but also every place we visit in FNAF 4, including the bedroom, the house, Fredbear's, and the Plush Trap minigame. Throughout the map, you can see a bunch of dots. The bright dots represent a human, while the darker dots represent animatronic.
Let's see. I hope y'all can see my mouse. Hold on. I hope so. Hold on. Let me see. You guys should be able to see my cursor. Hold on. I want to make sure because I want to point something out. Okay, you can. Okay. So let's see. So obviously this is the room in FNAF 4 where this is probably the bed, this is the closet, this is the left door, and this is the right door from FNAF 4. Right? I assume so. Right? Or no, is this the path of Fredbear's? Because you go down this long sidewalk. Oh no, it is. No. I'm wrong. No, I'm dumb. No. This is the path of Fredbear's. Because you spawn here in the minigame, you go down this sidewalk, you see the pigtail girl who tells you about the haunted ghost stories where if, the animatronics find you, they, stuff you in the bodies and they never tell anyone. You see this kid, the older kid who makes fun of you for, being scared. You walk down the sidewalk, you see Balloon Boy, he's holding a balloon. It's like, oh, it's your birthday and everything. You go down this sidewalk and then you enter the house. This is where you see the TV where it says, Fredbear and Friends 1983. You enter this room. I want to say this is the one with the grandfather clock. This is the unknown girls' room with the flower that has mango on the floor that still has no answer. And this is your bedroom that you get locked in. So I guess this is the FNAF 4 Crying Child because, this is the bedroom that you spawn in. And these two animatronics, I guess, would be Golden Freddy and Golden Bonnie because those are two on the stages at Fredbear's in FNAF 4. I guess. Huh. Okay.
We've got the fun time.
Yeah. So I'm done. This is the path to Fredbear's. Let's see. This one down here is the plush trap hallway because, this dot right here at the bottom is you. This dot up here is plush trap, and then these are the 4 doors that you're able to see on the side of the hallway. Yeah, this is the plush trap hallway. And then this is the one where this is the bed, this is you. These are the left and right doors that Bonnie comes from the left, Chica comes from the right, and Foxy comes through the middle in the closet. And then this is, I don't know, maybe Fredbear / Nightmare is there off to the side. Oh no. Okay. So no, that's right. Okay. I'm dumb. Sometimes you mistake things because, this lore gets complicated. Okay, we move.
Time animatronics, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
The Nightmare animatronics, Plush Trap, and 1 animatronic in each of the 4 closets in the Plush Trap minigame. This is odd because Plush Trap is already accounted for, so what animatronics could be in those 4 closets? Well, let's look at the books. The Silver Eyes trilogy is literally about Henry building 4 robotic recreations of Charlie after her death and keeping them in closets. Hence the title of the final book, The 4th Closet. So could this be the 4 closets from the books? Let's dig deeper. In the books, Henry was known for creating a bunch of different toys for Charlie, such as a frog and a robotic plush bunny named Theodore. Charlie carried this plush bunny that her dad made her everywhere, but when Henry passed away, Charlie was forced to leave it behind in her childhood home. Specifically, she left it behind in her room, where the closets resided. Not only that, quote, her father had named him Theodore. He was the size of a 3-year-old child. Right now, Theodore sat in a white wicker chair in the far corner of the room. So in the books, we've got the robotic plush bunny that Charlie used to carry around that is roughly the size of a 3-year-old child that was left sitting in a white chair in the room where the closets resided. This is almost exactly what we see in the Plush Trap minigame. A robotic plush bunny about the size of a 3-year-old sitting in a white chair surrounded by 4 oddly placed closets with supposedly an animatronic in each one.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. I think that's interesting. First of all, that's not the first time we've heard this theory where, the 4 doors that you see in this hallway, 1, 2, 3, 4, is a reference to the 4 Charlie closet theory where, I guess quick cliff notes of the books and everything. The reason why it's called the Four Closets is because after Charlotte, once again, they're interchangeable. It's the same person. You know who I'm talking about. But after they die, after getting, locked outside the pizzeria, William Afton comes by in the purple car and kills them in the alleyway and everything. They get merged by the puppet. Henry, the other co-creator, co-owner of Freddy Fazbear's, is so heartbroken and grief-stricken after his, young child. I want to say she was like 3 or 4 at the time. After she died, Henry Afton was a genius inventor, so he created 4 versions of his now dead daughter to basically go through life and to basically be a stand-in for his now dead daughter. So the 4 versions is, I want to say, a baby, child, teenager, and adult. I want to say those are the 4 closets, 4 versions of the reborn dead child that Henry made in robot form to basically go through life like normal.
Not every detail lines up perfectly, but they're not supposed to. The books are a different continuity to the games. This could very well be the game's version of this scenario from the books. So if Plush Trap is the game's version of Theodore, all we need is a kid in the games who's known for carrying around Plush Trap, and bonus points if Plush Trap was specifically made for them by their dad, just like Henry created Theodore for Charlie. Do you see where I'm going with this? Not only is this...
That's interesting. Okay. Alright.
Kid carrying a plush trap doll, but his literal only line of dialogue is, quote, "My daddy says I have to be careful with him or I will pinch my finger. He is a finger trap," he says. All we need is a kid in the games who's known for carrying. My daddy says I have to be careful with him, or I will pinch my finger. He is a finger trap. Also, this kid is literally standing right outside of Fredbear's family diner, which is famously, allegedly, where Charlie dies. Also, it was revealed in the books that Afton's secret bunker was connected right to Henry's house, which means it's entirely possible that this minigame takes place in Henry's house. All of this...
That's something that's so confusing, right? That's something that to this day is so confusing that we there's many questions about what the hell even is FNAF 4? What's it all about? What does it all mean? What do these characters mean? Where does it take place in a timeline? All these questions. What's the name identity of the crying, scared kid that we, control and play as in those 8-bit minigames in between Nights and FNAF 4? There's so many questions. And that's another one. Is it Henry's house that we see and play in FNAF 4, or is it William Afton's? Because, we assume it to be William Afton's house because of, that's just what we assumed at the time. The only adult we knew as in the game at the time was William Afton. We didn't even know Henry existed yet, so that felt like it would make sense. Plus, when you consider the sister location bunker, that we know the sister location animatronics were made by William. In the sister location bunker, it's connected to the FNAF 4 house because in the secret room where you fight Ennard, you just have to type in 1983 on the keypad, and that reveals secret cameras from the plush Nightmare Fredbear plush Fredbear animatronic. And it shows that it's showing cameras in the plush trap hallway, the FNAF 4 bedroom, and there's one other place. But there's cameras in the FNAF 4 house, so it's like, it has to be William Afton's house, because why would William Afton have cameras spying on Henry's house? That doesn't make any sense. Especially since we know that the FNAF 4 house and sis location are built on top of each other because they're connected in the same power lines, because that's what we see in the minigame right here. That they're built on top of one another because they're all connected to the same power unit. Because that's where the observation 2 rooms come from. We're restoring power to those rooms to view those cameras, so they're clearly connected. And someone tells me Henry would not be too pleased find out that a sister location bunker of animatronics are made by William was made underneath Henry's house that he didn't know about. Right? Like, the simple explanation, the way more simpler explanation, is that no, it's what's going on is it's William Afton's house, it's William Afton's bunker, because he made the animatronics. He connected the power and cameras to the rooms because it's his house. Plus, in Midnight Motorist, the person, or the orange mustard man who drives around the purple car and everything, he drives up to a lone house in a clearing in the woods and everything. That's a 2-story house and everything. And we assume that to be a stand-in for the Fnaf 4 house, because in the title screen of Fnaf 4, we see a lone house in the woods, just off to its side and everything, just like we see in Midnight Motors. So all the lines point to the Fnaf 4 house that we see him playing in Fnaf 4 is William Afton's, not Henry's.
About this franchise. You can make almost anything make sense. This is a franchise where there's things like illusion discs, illusion light bulbs, robots that can look like a believable human, time travel ball pits, robots turning into humans, humans turning into robots, computer programs that can brainwash people, Fazgoo that can completely replicate another person, and now a robot that can mimic a person almost perfectly. The reason so many theories and timelines can work is because almost anything is possible in this franchise. There are so little answers in the games, but so many possible explanations outside of the games. With that being said, the big question is this: is the FNAF timeline solvable? I think the answer is complicated. After
Yep. Couldn't have said it better than myself. Can you solve FNAF? Well, yes, but actually no.
spending over a year trying to create my own timeline video, one of the biggest problems I've run into actually has to do with this map. Specifically, this part of the map featuring the Afton house and Fredbear's. It's widely believed that the crying child's death was one of, if not the first death in the timeline.
Like I said earlier in the stream, there's a couple events that very clearly happened early on in the series. It's Charlotte's death, that's locked outside the pizzeria. FNAF 4 Crying Child's death that you just saw with the bite from Fredbear when they were shoved in the mouth. And then the Elizabeth Afton getting killed by Baby with the scooper. And then you have the missing children incident. So there's 4 events in the series that could all be the first event in the series, and you wonder why it's complicated.
And in the minigames for FNAF 4, we see the week leading up to the bite. Every day, the crying child is being bullied by Michael and is talking with his Fredbear plushie. Everywhere he goes, this Fredbear plush follows. And when FNAF 4 was released, it was a popular theory that this Fredbear plush was an imaginary friend, since it was able to move from place to place on its own, shapeshift into flowers, and talk to the crying child wherever he goes. Then Sister Location came out, and it was revealed that the Fredbear plush might have not been an imaginary friend, but a surveillance system set up by William Afton to keep track of the crying child. But there's a big problem with this. If Afton was down in Circus Baby's entertainment and rentals monitoring his kid, that would mean that this bunker would need to have been built before the crying child got bit, and therefore before any deaths occur in the franchise.
Maybe it's before the death. I don't know. The death, maybe that's possible, but at the same time, though, I've always interpreted the, surveillance, footage of, FNAF 4 Crying Child, getting locked. It's not going to be any easier to say because we don't have a name for him, so I have to keep saying FNAF 4 Crying Child. But, because you know what I'm talking about. But, maybe it's tied to his death, but at the same time, though, we know from Midnight Motors and FNAF 6 that, the kid is, very commonly, breaking out of his room and going to Fredbear's, right? So That's why he got locked in his room nonstop. That's why they had surveillance cameras watching him nonstop. Because he kept running away and everything. So, I don't know. That's just another way that I interpret it. Is death? Maybe, but the surveillance cameras could also be following him because, well, he runs away a lot.
That is if you believe the crying child dies first. Not only that, in a recent Tales from the Pizzaplex book, it was revealed that the Fnaf 4 bedroom is actually a fake bedroom being pumped with hallucinogenic gas. The concept of the Fnaf 4 gameplay is literally Afton running fear experiments on people. This throws a huge wrench in the timeline because why would Afton build this underground bunker and be running these experiments all the way back in 1983 before anyone even dies yet? He has no motivation to be doing any of this. On top of that, this bunker was clearly built with Circus Baby and the Funtime animatronics in mind. So if Afton was down here monitoring the crying child, the Funtimes had to have been built before his death, which seems way too early. Even in the books, Afton doesn't create the Funtimes until way after 1983. All of these problems arise because of this map and this plushie with a walkie-talkie sitting on the desk. But I do think there are solutions to this. Like I said before, it was revealed in a recent Tales from the Pizzaplex book that the Fnaf 4 gameplay is Afton running fear experiments on people. This bedroom isn't above ground like we always thought, it's underground in the bunker.
Huh. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So you're saying the Fnaf 4 house, because we already know the dislocation bunker, it is underground. It's a literal bunker. It's underground. So instead of the Fnaf 4 house being, I don't know, above ground, which would make sense, you're saying instead the house is below ground, below the bunker, even further down? So then, Fnaf 4 Crying Child, going down the street, going down the sidewalk and everything, going to Fredbear's. So we have an entire Fredbear pizzeria location that's fully underground instead of, I don't know, the common sense version of it being above ground. I don't know, that's just a huge stretch to me. I don't know about that one. I think the more likely common, it's a thing about like, the common saying of, sometimes the simple answer is the best, the right answer. I know simple answers is the exact opposite of what you would get from, these FNAF series. But, I don't know. Having a FNAF pizzeria location that kids go to, like we literally see kids go to it, instead of it being above ground, at the surface, it's instead even deeper below ground. I don't know about that one. Especially since we know that the dislocation bunker, not many people know that it exists. So you would think if the FNAF pizzeria from FNAF 4 was actually deeper below ground, you would think people would know that the dislocation bunker exists because it's above it, because the elevator. But no, you go down the elevator to go to the dislocation bunker, not you go above.
Afton literally built a whole makeshift bedroom in this bunker. And if he was able to do that, I think it's entirely possible that this isn't the house and Fredbear's that we see in FNAF 4, but a replica of it built by Afton to also run fear experiments on people. I genuinely think that Afton was trying to replicate what happened with the crying child, recreating his daily walk to Fredbear's and his nightmares every night. That would mean that the Fredbear plush from FNAF 4 was an imaginary friend, and the surveillance system we see in Sister Location was for the people Afton was running experiments on, trying to replicate the crying child's imaginary friend Fredbear. This is backed up in the survival logbook. On this page in the survival logbook, it says, quote, "Do you have a stuffed animal or blanket that you took with you everywhere? What about an imaginary friend?" With a giant picture of the Fredbear plush at the bottom. It just makes so much more sense for it to be an imaginary friend. It knows things like where Mike is hiding and what specifically the crying child saw. It encourages the crying child to leave Fredbear's and even even call for help when he's confronted with a Fredbear suit. Not only is William Afton not a caring father, he could literally just walk upstairs and help his kid if he wanted to. He doesn't need to talk through a Fredbear plush. Also, we literally see Afton helping someone put on a suit in the back room while the Fredbear plush is speaking, which would make it impossible for Afton to be speaking through the plush. We also have the Fnaf movie, where we see Michael's younger sibling Abby literally having conversations with her plushies. The problem all these years is that there's evidence for both possibilities, and I think that's because technically both are right. I think what this is Afton trying to recreate his son's imaginary friend while replicating every moment that occurred before his death, forcing others to go through what his son went through. This allows the fun times and the underground bunker to be built after the crying child dies.
Okay, but why though? Right? Why go through so much trouble in trying to recreate your kids' like daily habits and everything? Why go through so much trouble to do that? Just for revenge? Just so you can literally put your child back together and everything? Like, why go through so much trouble in recreating fake bedrooms, fake test, room chambers of the bedroom gas, all that stuff? Why go through all that trouble for what? What do you gain by doing that? That's my main question. Right? What do you gain by doing that? Because I was on board at first, William Afton taking the whole, I will put you back together line, way more literal, where he takes the pieces of his dead child and he makes it into a robot kid, and maybe that robot kid is what we later to find out to be Gregory from Security Breach and ruin all that stuff, right? That makes sense. But doing this whole testing room chamber stuff and trying to recreate his movements and everything for what? What do you gain by doing that? Just for revenge? Just for boredom? Right? That's my main question that I'm kind of confused about.
Giving Afton proper motivation and just making more sense overall. Another thing that absolutely breaks the timeline is the design of the withered animatronics, and if an unwithered version of them ever existed. Some people think the original Freddy Fazbear looked more like the FNAF 1 design, and other people think the original Freddy looked more like withered Freddy. They're obviously two different designs, but which one was the original? Well, there's evidence for both sides. In FNAF 6, we literally get a logo for Fazbear Entertainment featuring an unwithered withered Freddy. But recently we've gotten Faz tokens where it says since 1983 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza with FNAF 1 Freddy's face on it. In FNAF 2 we get these dream sequences featuring FNAF 1's Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica on stage. This is great until you remember that FNAF 2 is a prequel. The FNAF 1 versions of these animatronics should not exist yet, so how are these designs showing up in someone's nightmares? Unless the FNAF 1 version of the characters is what they looked like at the original Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. It all revolves around what Scott was thinking at the time. He could have put the cleaned up withered animatronics on that stage, but maybe he didn't have enough time to model them.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're trying to say, that, if you look at, the FNAF 1 animatronics and you do a compare contrast of the old Wither animatronics from FNAF 2, and we know how it's a prequel and everything. Details like, how many rows of teeth that, withered, Chica has, doesn't really line up with FNAF 1 Chica. Or, the facial structure of, Freddy's arm or whatever doesn't really line up because it's way more bulkier in the FNAF 2 Wither animatronic versus the FNAF 1 Freddy. Yeah, it is weird and uncanny that they don't really line up fully. That's why I'm interested to see, that's going to reason why I'm very, very curious how the animatronics look in the FNAF 2 movie. For that reason is how they handle the withereds, right? So, yeah, the design appearance may look different, but I don't know. I've always seen that as just a design choice because there's other things that we know about in the series that doesn't really fully line up, but we kind of just ignore it, just it's fine. For instance, you look at FNAF 3 Springtrap, and Fnaf sits Afton, they are technically the same person, they're the same character. But very clearly, Afton is missing an arm compared to FNAF 3. You see way more like bone matter and facial structure stuff and the head of Afton compared to FNAF 3 Springtrap. But they're the same character.
We might never know. I mean, the Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica in the Follow Me minigames are literally a mix of the Withered designs and the FNAF 1 designs, with them having the Withered's buttons, but Chica having FNAF 1's design. I think Scott would be the first to admit that the early FNAF games were not perfect, but they didn't really need to be. You could seriously argue that these inaccuracies, whether intentional or not at the time, are the reason people are still talking about these games nearly 10 years later. So obviously, as I'm coming up with my own FNAF timeline, I'm running into problems that I'm becoming more and more convinced might actually be solved if we get that Fredbear's or Fall Fest of 1970 game one day. The earliest parts of the timeline are the hardest to solve for me because we just don't have enough information yet. And based on Carney from the Fall Fest being a direct copy of Lefty in animatronic that Henry built, I can only assume that we'll learn more about the origins of Henry and Fazbear Entertainment sometime soon. Hopefully. I think if I were to have you take anything away from this video, it's that you need to be open-minded with FNAF theories. I hope I've proven through this video and all of my previous theories that there's so many different explanations for things in these games. And while there are some confirmed details that are possible to get wrong, most of the time it's about using all of the evidence we have and creating a timeline that makes the most sense to you. Be nice to people who...
But hey, that's just a theory. Oh man, it sucks that MadPat's no longer here. Alright, well, no longer here. Not that he's dead, but that he's retired and no longer doing theories, especially FNAF theories, because, I feel like I'm not the first person to say this, but his theories is what I watched, and how I got into the whole FNAF lore to begin with is because of him, and I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. So, yeah. But, yeah, do be nice with people making theories, because they're just theories at the end of the day. It's not fact. Some people just don't understand what the definition of theories mean. Okay. So that was interesting. We have one more to react to, and let's see if we can figure out more of what is going on. So let's play the other one, shall we?
8 years ago.
Okay. So let's see here. Let me just get this set up 1 second, people. Okay. Sorry about that. We are back. Alright. So, let's see. FNAF was unsolvable until now. Let's see.
8 years ago, Five Nights at Freddy's sister location introduced a whole new roster of characters and a ton of new plot points to the game.
That is already weird. Jeez, I am getting old. Oh my god, I'm getting old. Am I really going to show my age? Has it really been 8 years since FNAF's location came out? Oh my god. I feel old. This location was when, like I said earlier, when we had the whole sci-fi twist, and the book games and books and everything went way more of a science fiction type of direction where we had scoopers and remnant and soul juice and all that stuff. It was way more scientific than just plain old horror. That's when we started getting the books, and now we have like 5 different series of books. It's really been 8 years. I've been doing this for a long time. Help save me.
Despite the game looking super complex, the story was pretty straightforward, and a lot of the mysteries have since been solved. But what if I told you nearly 2,800 days later, there's one mystery that's been right in front of our faces that has yet to be solved until now?
Alright, let's go. I'm hooked. Are you hooked? I'm hooked.
Make sure to subscribe, and let's get started. Throughout Security Breach, Ruin, and Help Wanted 2, there's been a lot of weird references back to Sister Location, with Mike's room showing up in Security Breach, the scooper at the end of Ruin, and now the Sister Location elevator at the end of Help Wanted 2.
Yes. I'm trying to think if there are any other location references. No.
And that's just to name a few. I think it's pretty obvious that there's some big connection to Sister Location that we've been missing. And it feels like Scott and Steelwool are desperately trying to tell us what it is. Well, I think it goes back to this one line from Sister Location that's been bothering me for years now. 1 year ago, before Ruin or
the Security Breach room, the secret room in Security Breach, where you see the room where Michael Afton, which it's always been an assumption, it's never been confirmed, but the main assumption is that we play as Michael Afton in Sister Location. In between nights, he goes back to that room and he watches, more and more of The Restless and everything, and eats popcorn with his exotic butters. Right? Yeah, that room showing up at Security Breach at all feels weird because, wait, is that just a nice Easter egg, a nice reference to that room? Like, oh my god, look, it's the room from Sister Location. Or is that the room that Michael Afton actually went back to in between nights? It's very weird. So yeah, it showing up at all was weird.
Help Wanted 2 was even released, I decided to go live on my channel and play Sister Location. And it was on this stream that I called out that one specific line and how much it was bothering me.
I don't recognize you. You are new. I remember this scenario. However, there is a space under the desk. Someone before you crafted it into a hiding place, and it worked for him.
It's so interesting also that there was someone here before us. Baby even mentions that it was a him and they created a hiding space. It's like, that feels like such a thing. It's like, come on, this is what I'm trying to tell you. There was someone here before, It feels so right in front of our faces, but I don't know what it means. In Sister Location.
Interesting. I mean, the main thing I could think of, I'm sure I'm going to be proven wrong about this, but the main thing that I feel like everyone else thought about is that the person that Baby is referring to saying, oh, I don't recognize you, work for him, create that crawl space, is referring to William Afton, because we know that William Afton made that bunker, made the animatronics and everything that we see, the fun animatronics, and the reason why Baby doesn't recognize the character we play as is because William Afton was her creator. That's who she would recognize, but we play as Michael Afton, who looks like his father, but it's not who William Afton is. It's someone clearly different. He just looks like William Afton. That's why Baby says, I don't recognize you. It's because we're not playing as William, we're playing as Michael.
Location, we play as Michael Afton, exploring the underground bunker and eventually getting himself scooped. But this speech heavily implies that there was someone there before us, with Baby making a big deal of the fact that she doesn't recognize us, but she remembers this exact same scenario happening with someone else.
I don't recognize you. I remember this scenario. However,
this speech has been on my mind for so long now because it feels so intentional and specific. Throughout the game, we learn about a bunch of people who never made it out of the bunker.
Funny story, a dead body was found in this vent once. Okay, so not that funny, but...
Even the 2 technicians that we meet on night 4 don't make it out alive. But one person who Baby mentions in her speech was able to create that hiding spot and made it out alive.
And it worked for him.
We even hear the Biddy Babs talk about this one specific person once we get into the hiding space. I think they say, is this the same person as well?
Is this the same person?
Is this the same person? It's like, who is this person? There is this just constant theme of like, oh, there was someone here before me. This chunk of the game makes a pretty big deal out of the one person who was there before us. Baby even reveals that it was a him. So who was this person? Last year when Ruin came out, we were introduced to a brand new character named Cassie. And throughout the game, we actually learned a lot about her. But there was one character that you could argue we learned even more about, Cassie's dad.
Yep. Yep, that's true. It's funny. When we were playing Ruin and trying to figure out the lore for the DLC and everything, like, yeah, Cassie was important. Cassie got some screen time, but we were more focused on the mystery of who Cassie's dad is. And, oh, is he the kid that we see in Fnaf 4 that's wearing the body mask and shoves the Fnaf 4 crime child in Fredbear? And then turns out to be true. And that's like, oh, we must play as... Bonnie Bro, Cassie's dad in VR Help 1 and 2.
We learned that his favorite character is Bonnie, we learned that he went missing, and we learned that he's a Fazbear engineer. It's pretty widely believed that Cassie's dad was the Bonnie bully from the Bite of 83. Mostly because Cassie's dad's favorite character is Bonnie, Cassie associates the Bonnie mask in Ruin with her dad, and then in Help Wanted 2, Cassie's dad sees the mask again with the words, "This looks familiar." And if Cassie's dad was roughly a teenager when the Bite of 83 happened, that would make him pretty old by the events of Ruin, which means he's probably been a Fazbear engineer for a while now. And I think the person who went down to the sister location bunker created that hiding space.
Someone before you crafted it into a hiding place.
And made it out alive all those years ago.
And it worked for him.
Was Cassie's dad.
Huh. I've always assumed that the person who created that crawl space and they're referencing is once again William Afton, because Michael Afton looks just like his father, but damn. Alright, so Bonnie Bro is even more important and he shows up even more than we first realized. Okay, but I don't know about this, but I'm intrigued though. I'm willing to hear you out.
Need more proof?
Yes, I do.
One of the things about Help Wanted 2 that everyone is pretty sure of is that we play as Cassie's dad. So knowing what we know now, let's look back at the first trailer for Help Wanted 2.
Welcome back for another week of career fulfillment and minimal social interaction.
The trailer takes place in the sister location elevator with hand units saying, "Welcome back for another week."
It kind of sucks that we never got to see the elevator go down. Like how it's playing the trailer. The only time we see the elevator is in that Secret Princess Quest ending in VR Help 1 and 2. And instead of going down, it goes up into a giant claw machine. That's when Vanny smushes Glitch Trap. So it kind of sucks that the game didn't start this, but I feel like the way it started, where like the whole like project and everything, from playing scenes and music from FNAF 6, it was so cool. But yeah, we never got to really see this, which kind of sucks.
implying that Cassie's dad worked at or at least visited the sister location bunker at one point. We even see the Phas wrench panel from Ruin in the elevator, and in Ruin we learn that Cassie's dad had a Phas wrench.
A Phas wrench? It's just like my dad's.
We also see a few random sister location minigames show up in Help Wanted 2, and I think this is also because Cassie's dad has been there. He's reliving his experience working and fighting off the Funtime animatronics. In the Ballora minigame, if you start crawling out of bounds, the Biddy Babs start chasing you saying these specific lines.
Knock, knock. Someone is inside. We'll see you again soon.
The same lines that you hear while in the hiding space in Sister Location. The Biddy Babs don't show up in this section in Sister Location, so having them show up in Help Wanted 2 while saying these specific lines feels intentional. But the ultimate need more proof is this. Throughout Help Wanted 2,
I also just think, though, like, we'll see you again soon or anything. Like, yeah, obviously the Biddy Babs say those same lines in Sister Location where it's a minigame where you go in a crawl space in Sister Location. Yeah, those lines are the same, but I don't know, to me, you could also make the same argument how, they are robots at the end of the day, and it's just written in their code to say stuff like that. Right, it's not them having consciousness of, oh, we'll see you again soon because we remember you, kind of thing.
the animatronics are very aware of who we are, commenting that we look like we have kids,
Now, you look like you got kids.
and saying things like, what makes you so special?
What makes you so special?
This mostly happens with Moon, Mystic Hippo, and Baby. But Baby specifically says one line that no other character in the entire game says. 3 words.
I recognize you.
This is a direct...
Why would Baby recognize Bonnie Bro? Cassie's dad. Why would Baby recognize us? Huh. Why? Why, chat? Why would she recognize us? I don't know. That's interesting. Huh. That does feel intentional. Weird, but intentional.
direct callback to the beginning of the speech where Baby mentions the person who built the hiding spot in Sister Location.
I don't recognize you.
Even her delivery of the line, I recognize you, feels like the direct antithesis of her line from Sister Location.
I don't recognize you. I recognize you.
Why would Baby recognize Cassie's dad? Because I think she saw him when he was down in the bunker. Why would Scott and Stillwell reference back to this specific moment in Sister Location? Because I think Cassie's dad was the one Baby was talking about who built that hiding spot in the bunker and made it out alive.
And it worked for him.
On top of all of that, at the end of Help Wanted 2, a game where we play as Cassie's dad, we're met with the Sister Location elevator. This is one of the most shocking and random moments in all of FNAF, but it would make sense if Cassie's dad had memories of going to the bunker. The connections between Sister Location and Cassie's dad feel super intentional, but something I've been trying to figure out is how this contributes to the larger story. I guess the question is, why does it matter? Well, I have a few ideas. If Cassie's dad really did work in the Sister Location bunker, then he might have found out about all of the terrible things that William Afton was doing. He probably saw the scooper in the bunker and figured out what was going on. And since the dolls representing the missing kids are called memories in Help Wanted 2, maybe this part of Princess Quest is Cassie's dad putting the memories of what he witnessed all those years ago to rest. Maybe he feels guilty for not doing more to stop William. I think another possibility is that the story of Cassie's dad aligns with the Candy Cadet story from Help Wanted 2. In the story, we hear about someone who, when...
So... First of all, that's wild if Bonnie Bro, Cassie's dad, has been here a lot longer than we originally thought. That just feels weird and off-putting. But I guess my main question is, if that is to be believed, if we're supposed to take this as factual true, like, yes, the person that came down in the Sister Location bunker before and made the crawl space and worked for him and he, got and everything, if that is to be believed that it is Cassie's dad, then, and he feels guilty about, not being able to do more and feels bad about, all the, lives and kids that, William Afton killed and everything, or was responsible for at the very least. Not, because some of them he killed physically himself, and the others, well, he led them to the animatronics to, kill them for him and do his bidding, right? So, if that's all true, my main question is, if he feels guilty about, all these kids dying, then where does Henry fit in? Because since FNAF World, since before Sister Location came out, it's always been William Afton is the inventor who kills kids. Henry's the one who tries to fix the wrongdoing. Henry's always connected to William Afton. Henry's trying to make amends for all the lives that William Afton killed. Right? It's always William Afton feels guilty because he says, oh, a wound first inflicted on me that I let spread to others. It's always been Henry. But now it's Bonnie Bro, it's now Cassie's dad, so now where does Henry fit in? That feels weird. Hey, Specialist, how's it going? I've been alright, yourself? Feels like it's been a while. What's up? So yeah, that just feels weird. Right? Where does Henry fit in? If Bonnie Bro is the one that, wants to make amends and, try to, fix everything for William Afton killing everyone, then where does Henry fit in then? Because it makes sense for Henry to feel guilty because it's his business partner. We don't know William Afton and Bonnie Bro having a connection. Unless we assume that Fotsy Bro is Michael Afton, so then, your best friend's dad killed these kids. Like, that's the best stretch and connection we got, as opposed to Henry's William Afton's business partner. There's a way more direct connection.
They were younger, entered a dark forest, and was almost eaten by a witch but made it out alive.
Now let me tell you a story about a young woman who, when she was little, was led into a dark forest by a witch and almost eaten.
Then, years later, when they were an adult, they entered the dark forest again willingly.
When she had grown, she sought revenge on the witch and entered the forest again willingly, this time with the confidence of age and experience.
This could line up with how Cassie's dad went down to the bunker when he was younger, but...
Does it? Does it? I mean, it's a theory. It's an interesting idea. It's an interesting interpretation. But I don't know. Like, seeing those lines, you immediately think of, Vanessa, being taken over by the glitch trap virus and, her turn to Vanny and everything. Like, those lines make more sense if it's to be believed Vanessa, because it's a woman, right? But if we go back to those lines for a second, right?
Line up with how Cassie's dad went down to the bunker when he was
grown.
Later, when they were an adult,
right. Let's play those lines because it makes sense for it to be Vanessa, in my opinion, more than Cassie's dad.
Entered the dark forest again willingly.
When she had grown, she sought revenge on the witch and entered the forest again willingly. Grown, she sought.
Later, when they were an adult, they entered the dark forest. Candy Cadet's story from Help Wanted 2. In the story, we hear about someone who...
Okay, sorry, I'm replaying because I didn't do the time right. Okay.
When they were young.
But yeah, this adds up if it's Vanessa to me.
Younger, entered a dark forest and was almost eaten by a witch but made it out alive.
Now let me tell you a story about a young woman who, when she was little, was...
A young woman who was led into a dark forest by a witch, almost eaten. So, obviously, the Candy Cadet stories, Candy Cadet has been around since, FNAF sits. And it's not about, a complete one-to-one comparison, because obviously we've never seen a witch in FNAF, before, yet. But, no, it's not supposed to be a one-to-one, parallel, but it's supposed to be, references and, subtle nods to, oh, this happens in FNAF because, there's one where it's like, in Sister Location, or no, not Sister Location, in FNAF 6 where we first meet Candy Cadet, the stories are like, taking, 5 keys and spell them together to make one key, or sewing 5 kittens, into one shoebox, right? It's all about taking one thing, that's like pieces together and combine into one thing. Well, the best interpretation of that is in Dislocation with Ennard. How we know how Ennard is a conglomeration of Funtime Freddy, Ballora, and Bonnie Handpup and Baby. So it's 5 pieces of those Funtime animatronics, and they're sewn, combined together, conglomerated into what we know as Ennard. So it's not about, the 5 kids and where do we see them in FNAF. It's about, where do we see 5 things become one thing. So when we get to this, where it says, a young woman was led into our forest by a witch, almost eaten, to me, that screams Vanessa and the whole William Afton glitch trap stuff, because we had think of a dark woman, Vanessa, tape girl, in VR Help Wanted, dark forest by a witch, almost eaten, I've interpreted, and other people have interpreted, that to be William Afton, who is in the glitch trap form, trying to take over her mind with, the tapes and everything. So, that's the dark forest, that's the witch, is the young woman in the dark forest by the witch and everything being led to the forest, that's a stand-in for Vanessa almost getting taken over by the glitch trap virus from William Afton, right?
Led into a dark forest by a witch and almost eaten.
Then, years later, when they were an adult, they entered the dark forest again willingly.
When she had grown,
And we get to this part when it says when she had grown, she sought revenge on the witch and entered the forest again. That's what we see at the end of VR Help 1 and 2. We see Vanessa again, and, she, takes, the, mini figurine of Glitchtrap and stuff, squishes him together, saying that, like, oh, she's freed. She's no longer under Glitchtrap's control and everything. She's now her own person, right? And this time entering with confidence, right? That's what we see at the end of Help 1 and 2. So, I don't know. Like, if you squint at it, maybe there's a connection with Bonnie Bro and this, but I don't know. Like, the she, and, she comes back years later and, is more confident. She seeks revenge on the, antagonistic threat, the witch being Glitchtrap William Afton. It just lines up way more cleanly if it's Vanessa, right? If it's Bonnie Bro, you have to really squint at it to me.
He sought revenge on the witch and entered the forest again willingly, this time with the confidence of age and experience.
This could line up with how Cassie's dad went down to the bunker when he was younger, but was one of the lucky people to make it out alive. Then when he was older, went back again willingly in Help Wanted 2. Not every detail lines up obviously, but it's not impossible. I have a few more ideas that relate to the scooper and mixes, but I think I'm gonna save that for a future theory. So make sure to subscribe.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not impossible. Okay, there we go. Right? It's not impossible for, the story that Candy Cadet said in Help Wanted 2, is referencing, Bonnie Bro and, Cassie's dad and everything. Like, yeah, if you squint at it, I can see there is a way you could put that together. But to me, it just fits way more cleanly if it's Vanessa. Because, she was a young woman at that point. She was lured to the dark forest. That's a stand-in to, her, being the VR tester and, Help Wanted, and getting lured by Glitchtrap and, her trying to, escape his, Glitchtrap, mind control and everything, right? And she comes back later on after years of experience, and she breaks out of his hold. She breaks out of his, cult, like, because that's literally what we see in the end of Help 1 and 2. We see her be way more confident. We see her take her capture and squish him, and showing that she is now free. She's now her own person. She's now thinking in her own way, and she's no longer tied down to glitch trap anymore. So it's one of those things where you have to squint at it, but it's interesting. I don't hate those theories. There's some things where I'm like, that does feel weird. That makes me think about it, right? That whole thing about, baby saying, I don't recognize you, but now saying she does recognize you if you compare Sister Location and Help 1 and 2. That does feel weird. That is definitely interesting, and kind of convinced about that a little bit, not gonna lie. And the whole plush trap stuff, reference the fourth closet. I think that's interesting. I can definitely see that be referenced in a later game, and then eventually be, canon, eventually be, people see as like the, Bible and everything. People see it as the gospel. Like, I can totally see it go in that direction. So it's interesting. I think it's interesting. I can see it be developed later on in the game and then be like, oh my god, we called it off there all these years. But yeah, at the end of the day, these are just theories. They are just ideas. They're not fact. So don't fight people on their theories, especially if you don't like them or whatever, because there's some theories I watch that, I can't agree with. I'm like, that makes me rethink things a little bit. And there's other ones where I don't agree with. But once again, at the end of the day, let people have their fun. It's all theories at the end of the day. If we are, gatekeeping and not allowing people to, have the freedom to make their own theories, whatever, then guess what? Not many people are making FNAF theories at all in the community because, well, everyone is so afraid about getting attacked or whatever because they don't want people to, fight them for being wrong or whatever. So let people do the theories they want and don't fight them, because either if we keep fighting them, then at that point, there will be no more theories to watch at all. So just be nice to people. Right? That's all I'm saying. So yeah, it's interesting. Some things I agree with, some things I disagree with, but I'm like, I'll say most of it I was like, it's interesting. I'm going to put a pin in that, and then maybe for future games or whatever, we come back to and we're like, this is really teasing after all those years. Great. Right? It's all interesting interpretations at the end of the day.